Gary, moving to thing number two. And again, the topic of this week's issue, the Trump Bitcoin issue. We're talking thing number two, President Trump and a Bitcoin strategic reserve. This might be why we have Alex back on the show, and I think he still has access to the Bitcoin conference.
Yes. Yeah, we've been teasing Alex for still wearing the bracelets for his there we go. He's gonna have those on for the next month. So Alex, tell us about your experience and how was it sharing a room with President Trump?
It was pretty incredible. That was my first time in the US, and no better way to do it than go straight and see Donald Trump himself speak. Um, the day before
Be
Trump,
careful what you say.
I'm gonna be as calculated as possible. No, the day before was RFK, which is incredible to think that how far the kind of the Bitcoin industry has grown, such that two out of the three main political candidates were at the Bitcoin conference. It was something, and RFK kind of set the bar pretty high. His knowledge on Bitcoin was nothing short of amazing, and he pledged, if he became president, to buy, I believe it was 4 million Bitcoin in a strategic reserve, and even came out and said himself that he owns, I believe it was 75% of his net worth in Bitcoin. Wow. So he set the bar pretty high. And but the atmosphere with Trump was, I mean, it was nothing. It was nothing. It was compared to RFK. I mean, RFK was here and Trump was here. Most people stood for the entirety of the Trump speech, and it was delayed shortly. I believe, I think it was for about 30 minutes, but he crossed over some pretty cool points. He was really going in. He was talking about firing Gary Gensler, at which point the crowd erupted. He promised, as he has done previously, not to allow the issuance of a CBDC. And he kind of throttled back the idea of ending the war on crypto, as it were. He didn't, unlike Kennedy, specifically say that there would be a strategic Bitcoin reserve. But what he did say was that the seized Bitcoin that the US government does hold, that would be moved to the Treasury in a strategic holding. So he didn't promise to buy more. He was just saying, we're going to hold it in a strategic way rather than in a kind of seized way, as it were. And the last thing I'll say is his knowledge at the time did not seem kind of as strong as Kennedy's, and it seemed like he was there just for kind of the votes, and he didn't really understand Bitcoin and the crypto industry as much as RFK. But in two interviews I've seen him do afterwards, the one that was blowing up on Twitter, he was asked about the 35 trillion in debt that the US has, and he said to the interviewer that he would, well, why don't we just hand them a little Bitcoin check or something and wipe out the 35 trillion? So he does grasp the underlying Bitcoin thesis, which is something.
I actually like the idea. As somebody who thinks it was a mistake for the US to overspend and thus forcing ourselves off the gold standard, I like the idea of us having a hard currency, whether it's gold, Bitcoin, silver, a strategic oil reserve. I like the idea of having things like that backing the country, backing the dollar. I agree with you. I think RFK does understand the issues better, but the truth is, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't matter to me that much whether, President Trump could write Lynn Alden's next book, right? It really just is a matter of if he's in a position to enact pro Bitcoin legislation, and, treat it more like a currency rather than, a security, have Bitcoin friendly regulation. Like, I don't actually care whether he could write a book on it, whether, he could join in the FinX discussions on it. I care that he's pointed in the right direction on the policy for that. Alex, what do you think? Like, how much does somebody need to know to get policy pointed in the right direction, or at least appoint somebody who would write maybe regulation that would be more friendly to the industry?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you were saying. I look, he is a political candidate and he's very busy. So learning about all these different industries, especially the new ones, whether it's AI, whether it's Bitcoin, it's unrealistic for him to really kind of dive into it. But he did say, I think you brushed over that he mentioned he would appoint I can't remember the exact title, but it was a head or a regulatory body for Bitcoin. And I think the phrase he used was, you will have people working for you who love your industry rather than hate your industry. So yeah, even he I think is surrounded by people who understand the kind of the power of this technology. And I think although he's not getting directly involved, he's putting it into good hands and putting it in the right direction, as you said.
All right. Other
Great.
than that, how was your trip to the US?
Yeah, it was quite something. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Besides the layover at JFK where there was a fire, but I did get to catch up with an old friend, so it was all in all, it was pretty great.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of, when there was the fire, I had the pleasure of hosting Alex that night instead of sleeping on the floor at JFK. He came by my place. So I just want to announce to everyone here, Alex was a fantastic guest and he even made his bed in the morning.
And I
Oh,
think we have a new title for him, right, Gary?
Yeah, he's our foreign correspondent for celebrities in politics.
There we go.
Right. So first Taylor Swift, now President Trump and RFK. He's traveling the world, meeting with everybody everywhere.